Hey guys, it's Lana, and welcome back for another episode of Seeing Other People. I have been looking forward to this episode for maybe like 6 months. I feel like this has been in the talks for a long time.
It's been in the works for a while.
It
Long
has.
time coming.
Long time coming. Guys, today is very special. Not only has it been in the works for a while, not only am I sitting next to two of my friends, but this is a conversation with the opposite sexes.
Woo! Let's go.
That is something that we rarely get here on Seeing Other People, except for with couples.
Very true. We've got guy-girl friendship going right now.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not a couple here.
We're bromance.
We're friends.
Yeah. So, guys, introduce yourselves. Welcome officially to the Seeing Other People family.
Thank you.
Actually, I take that back. You guys have both been very officially in the Seeing Other People family for a long time.
This is actually my return to the show.
Oh,
3 years later.
We're saying that.
We are, we can
2
say that.
years. We have not known each
2
other
years
for 3
later.
years. We always argue about
time
this.
flies when you're having a good time. I'm Sammy. I am Alana's neighbor and friend. Can we
I've
say
definitely
that?
talked about neighbor
talk about
Sammy a
this.
lot on the show.
This is me. This is
Yeah,
her.
and I'm Glenn. I was Sammy's coworker. I'm open to work for anyone on LinkedIn. But
Glenn is looking for love and looking for work.
yeah, we are friends, and I'm excited to be here. You know.
Yes, me as well.
Me three. Guys.
Let's dive into it.
I'm so happy. I know. Okay. We do have to dive because
Let's
we
get in.
procrastinated setting up for
We
meaning
sure
me,
did.
I. But okay, a lot for us to cover today, a lot of debates, a lot of questions. I want to start with the first one that I think is the most obvious, and it's this age-old question of, can guys and girls just be friends? And I've been asked this question a lot, and I think, in my opinion, it takes a very specific guy and a very specific girl in order for it to work. I am admittedly a girl who has ended up having crushes on most of my guy friends and ended up making out with most of my guy friends, if not all. I no longer have guy friends. Clearly, I think is the best way for me to put it. But I feel like as I've gotten to know the two of you and your friendship, I've kind of changed my mind about it because you guys have a wonderful guy and girl friendship.
I like to think so. Okay, so the question is, can guys and girls be friends? I think that's the root of it all. You want to take it first, or you want?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I mean, I think that guys and girls can be friends in the right circumstances. Like meeting someone at a bar probably is not going to lead to a good friendship. But when you're sitting next to Sammy at work 2 days a week and, you're chatting about random stuff, like, that leads to an actual
Professionalism.
friendship,
Yeah, I think, well, I guess I have a follow-up question for Glenn, honestly. But my answer is I totally understand your stance, and I think a lot of people do subscribe to that. I've just always had friends. I've always had friends that are the opposite sex. Like since I was a child, honestly. I have 2 older brothers. I'm one of 4, but I have 2 older brothers, and I feel like I was always like playing sports, and I don't know, like just had a lot to talk about that I guess I related to the opposite sex with. And I just remember like being friends with guys since I was like 8, probably at summer camp. And then I guess that just has led to a lot of like adult friendships with those same people. So in my mind, like it's been friendships of longevity and meaning. And I've also been able to sort of like carry that into my adult life and meeting friends at work, for example. And contrary to your experience, and I don't know if you're cutting that part out or not, but I've actually pretty much never made out with any of my guy friends. Like potentially once upon a time, many moons ago, but hardly. So it can be done, people.
Yeah, it could totally be done.
But my follow-up to you is, like, have you always had friends that are girls?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think, like, the differentiator is, like, where you meet someone. Like, meeting someone at, like, a run club, like, could be their friend, could also lead to a hookup kind of thing. But, like, if you're meeting someone at work and, like, maintaining that professionalism, or, like, you're meeting someone through, like, a friend in your friend group, like could definitely be like actual friends kind of thing.
Cool.
You did just say earlier today that run clubs are better for meeting people than dating apps.
I might be biased, but like
he runs, ladies. He's a runner.
I think that like the thing is, if you immerse yourself in a community that you're like interested in. So I like running, I like sneakers. So like if I go to like a run club thing, I'm going to be like the happiest version of myself usually. And that's going to attract, the same kind of energy. And if you're like passionate about something and you're doing it, like you're going to meet like-minded people. So, it might be a run club for me. It might be a pottery club for someone else. If that's a thing, it might be like the dog park. If you're like a single dog parent, like, you got to find your community and then like do something like that.
Glenn brings up a good point about being your happiest self when you're ready to meet people, friends and not friends, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is so important to dive into the things that you're passionate about because they do light you up and they do also attract like-minded people, exactly as you're saying. Before we go any further, I want to set the stage a little bit here. Can we share your relationship statuses and what is currently going on in your guys' dating lives?
Yeah. You want me to start?
Yeah, you go first.
All right.
You
Dun,
got
dun,
big
dun.
news.
All
I got
right,
no
all right,
news.
all right.
This is dramatic, and this is one of the things that's like the craziest about the fact that it took so long to plan this episode to actually happen,
Very
because
true.
when we started the idea of doing this episode to now, night and day.
Yes, very true. Well, for all the fans following my story from 2 years ago, I'm just kidding.
You were anonymous.
I'm currently in. I know. I'm currently in a relationship, a new relationship though. Early bird, special, early days. But yeah, no. I mean, I think like I've wanted to come onto the podcast to talk about the experience of dating, and I think it's I can bring a unique perspective of like how I feel like I found the relationship I'm currently in, because it was kind of like a journey for me from the last one that I was in, and just in general, like dating in New York. So
I would definitely
that's
agree
me.
with that.
Yeah, and I'm a pretty single, nice Jewish boy. So for any ladies out there,
Pretty and single people.
We approve, like pre-vetted,
Yes.
pre-approved.
Yes.
by two women
References
right here.
included.
Yes.
Exactly.
Fun
Exactly.
friends included.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun friends. You
Yeah.
could get on an episode next, maybe.
Barkley
It's true.
set cosigns.
Yeah, so true. Okay, so Sammy, I want to hear from your perspective, and Glenn from your perspective, because the two of you, I think what's beautiful about your relationship and your friendship is that you've helped each other through so many different dating situations. You've been each other's unbiased ear or biased. You've given each other like the hard truth when you needed to hear it. So I'd love to hear, maybe Sammy, we start with you, of like what you think changed from you being in a terrible dating life experience.
All right. Hey. Well, I think like, again, if anyone wants to go back and play the tape back, I was trying to always keep, an upbeat mindset about dating. I think, tried to keep one. I think,
I might have some text.
I
that say
tried to
way
make the
otherwise.
best of my time out there. I think like a lot of people could probably agree that it's wild. It's the wild, wild west sometimes out here, especially in like the era of dating apps. But what was the question? What was the original question? Sorry.
What
changed for me?
Yeah.
I think it goes back to what we were originally talking about. I mean, I had to really develop like a strong sense of self, a strong sense of self-worth, a strong sense of like who I was, what I was interested in doing, had to seek out communities of people and things to do that were just like serving me and making me happy, because I think, to our point earlier in the conversation, it put me in a position to really discern like who I was dating and what I was doing and how it was making me feel. And like, I don't want to spoil alert my dating advice for the end of the episode, but I do think that like there is a lot to be said about spending time dating and like thinking about how the person is making you feel and like how you feel about them, rather than worrying about if they like you. And I think it was until I could like really independently like harbor that sense of self-worth and self-confidence that I was able to just like date differently. And I think it ended up being more fruitful for me.
Yeah.
Glenn?
Glenn, what do you think you witnessed with Sammy's journey?
I think Sammy grew like a lot more confidence over the past year and a half or so, 2 years I've known her. And I think, with growing confidence, sometimes you become like a little less anxious too. So I think like that just combines to make a better version of Sammy that's, now in a relationship.
Glenn saw very much anxious dating Sammy.
I try.
Yeah.
He was a good friend for some of that. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Glenn, how would you describe your dating life right now?
It's like, all right. I'm on one app because it's Walks Club and they do like fun in-person events. And then, the other apps, sometimes it just feels a little bit like mindless swiping. But I think the thing I've really been trying to lean in on is I've had some setups from both of these women right here. And then just like, I don't know, as a dude, you don't really talk that much about your dating life with your boys, but filling in the
don't?
dating wins on the seeing other people Instagram, like, I'll see like her post a singles mixer or something, and then I'll like sign up for it because like in person is totally different than like, looking at like 5 pictures of someone and then being like, oh, they're 5'9" and not 6 foot. Like, I'll never ever marry them or date them.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say, you are the first person every single week to put in a dating win, and it brings me
Try.
so much joy. And I'm so proud of you. Like, we haven't known each other for that long or like that well, but I am just like so in awe of how you're so willing to put yourself out there in tough situations and scary situations. And even if like it doesn't go well, you're still giving it another shot. You're still signing up for the next event, going to the next mixer. And I just applaud you for that because that is something that is so hard to start doing. And it's even harder probably to keep doing.
Yeah, I think part of why I do that is so like when I was like 26 or 27, I moved across the country to go to grad school and to continue working at this place I was working. And I had very few friends in Portland, Oregon, so I had to start putting myself out there to just like even make friends. So,
and
you
that's
know.
why we go back to the same notion that we talked about at the beginning, where as long as you're like finding happiness, finding like what makes you happy in communities of people that are like-minded, you can meet friends or you can meet more than friends. So
Yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, I would say Glenn's you're very good at putting yourself out there and like keeping the positivity up despite like some of the hits to the chin that might happen sometimes in dating for all of us. But you did just take a break for a bit.
Yeah.
You didn't mention that, but I wanted to revisit it because you did mention before that you had just gotten off a break.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is important in dating.
No, absolutely.
And I definitely did that.
Why did you decide to take a break and why did you decide to end your break?
So I was just like, let me take a break, work on myself, and, now felt confident, and I ended up going to like a singles mixer last week, and I was like, you know what, I got like more confidence again, and I met a lot of nice ladies out there, so yeah.
Love that.
There you go.
Also, Glenn and I went to a mixer together once upon a time in my single days.
Yeah, Sammy is a great wing woman.
Still am, by the way. Still
Yeah.
am.
I wish I had you in my pocket when I was single. I would have loved to go out with you.
In my group of guy friends, a lot of them can attest to the fact that I was a good wing woman in the day. A lot of them are married
I can
now,
picture you like in How I Met Your Mother when it's like, have you met Ted? Like I can picture you also like being Robin, going up to people and being like, have you met Ted? Have you met Barney? You're like, and like going up to other women in like the most innocent but like, hey, I'm trying to help you both out here.
Yeah,
way.
of course. I was always like, let me buy everyone drinks and are you single? Have you met Glenn? But we went to the mixer together, and it was actually really cool to go as coworkers, single platonic friends and coworkers to a dating event because, like Glenn said, I mean, I think like the apps are kind of exhausted at this point, and I'm not on them anymore, obviously. But like even when I was, it was just like insane. We've talked about that a lot, and I think like we found it exciting and interesting to be in social situations, and it was scary to go alone. Glenn goes alone to a lot of dating things, which I admire, but I was afraid to go by myself. So we went together. We went to a Shabbat, a Locks Club Shabbat.
Yeah.
And we met cool people. We met friends like that. Some of us we still talk to as friends, but again, like goes back to like we had a lot in common with them, and if there wasn't like a romantic vibe, we were kind of friendly with them, and some of them, at least I still keep in touch with.
Yeah, and like even at like other single mixers, I'll like meet another dude and we'll be like, "Oh, like you're single, I'm single." Like personally, most of my friends are in long-term relationships. So like, finding a wingman even if it's at like a singles event, like is a great thing to do too, I think.
Yeah, and I think you asked like what sort of changed for me when I was dating in the last 8 or so months or year compared to a couple years ago. But I think like normalizing how hard it is right now and talking about it with people, like knowledge is power. Everyone believes that, or I think a lot of people believe that. I definitely do. And I think talking about it with someone of the opposite sex who can like provide that perspective too, in a world where I feel like we are likely villainizing each other just because it's such a I don't know, it's just a hard environment.
Yeah, people are so easy to be like, oh, he goes to make fuck men.
Yeah,
all
men
men
are the
do
worst.
this, they suck. Or
Yeah.
All men are
or-
trash.
or girls
Every
are
single one of
shallow
them.
Yeah.
or whatever. Like
Yeah.
there's tons of things we could go into and talk about with that, with like paying on the dates or like walking someone home or kissing on the like whatever it is. But I think like speaking about it with a friend like really helped to normalize it on both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of like broke down some stigmas and some barriers. And I think that was cool that like Glenn and I could do that. And I think that that's something that like we should all be doing more of.
Yeah.
And hopefully, again, like it could be like a positive change of pace, like little by little. And we can like change the direction of the dating world today as we know it, because like I said, it's the Wild West sometimes out there.
Do you guys remember the first conversation you had about dating? Because I think most commonly for like guys and girls to become friends is actually at work. But I often see people like don't know how to bring up more personal things, or like they're like, should I not cross that boundary? And I'm curious how you went from being coworkers to being friends.
I don't know. Was it the guy that dumped you on the park bench?
Which one? That's the better question.
Nah.
Which guy? Because that happened a couple of times. If you've ever been dumped on a park bench, people,
You're not alone.
you're not alone.
Or,
Also, guys, it's not original. Do it somewhere else. Do it in private. Cool.
or, was
Give us some respect.
or was it when I was seeing that girl that was like a bit more religious than I was?
I think it was that. Because
Mm.
we also like, we haven't really talked about religion. We don't have to, but like, I think, we're both Jewish, and
Yeah.
we're looking for people with Jewish background, and so potentially that came up. But yeah, I think it was that for you, and then I probably felt safe in that moment to share that multiple people dumped me on a park bench.
Yeah.
All right,
Share your truth. Speak your truth. No, I love that. And I think it doesn't have to be this like serious thing. It could just be like, what's going on, or like, how was your weekend? Actually, it was terrible. I got dumped.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to be like a pretty open person.
I think we're all pretty open
Yeah.
books.
Yeah.
So, it's possible that, like, again, we were in now we're back in office settings in this world, and it's possible one of us was, like, on our way to a date one day, and
Totally.
it's just kind of, I think it was kind of, like, pretty organic. But, yeah, I remember the conversation about the person that you were dating that was slightly more religious than you, because you weren't super sure if that was, like, something that you were on board with.
Yeah, and then I think the really reassuring thing was that you said you had dealt with something similar to that, because I think my thing was I knew Sammy was Jewish, and I was like, oh, do you know of any kosher spots in the Upper East Side? And like, I like cheeseburgers and Chipotle and all that unkosher stuff, but like, I don't know any kosher spots. And Sammy was like, why? And I was like, oh, I'm going out with this girl that's like, she's like, I'm pretty kosher-ish. And,
Yeah, I do have experience with that. I dated someone for 6 years who was kosher, and in this city, so I know my spots.
And now someone is dating you, and you're gluten-free and vegan.
Yep, exactly.
So, or gluten-free, dairy-free.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so you guys have given each other a lot of advice. I can't believe I just said vegan. You're not vegan.
Yeah. Meat.
No,
Love
like
meat.
that.
Meat lover.
That was wrong. That was very
So
wrong.
It's okay.
At least I corrected myself. Long
exactly.
day.
That's all that matters.
You guys have given each other a lot of advice.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
What are some situations where maybe one of you has really helped the other? Or like, Sammy, do you remember any specific advice that Glenn gave you that really helped you in a situation, and vice versa?
Yes, I do. There's one thing that comes to mind. I was dating someone, like just casually dating someone, maybe like last summer, and nice guy, just wasn't really a fit for me. And I'm pretty good at the text. Like, I'm pretty good at it. As a PR girl, I'm pretty good at that. But I had sent the note to this guy. Like, we had only gone out a handful of times. Actually, I said it to him in person, to be honest. I would be honest if I sent the text, but I did tell him in person that I wasn't really interested in pursuing it any longer. And he like had a really hard time with it, which I think isn't that common, actually. Like, I think people do have a hard time receiving that text, but they don't necessarily push back.
They don't voice it.
This person was definitely like pushing back, and I really didn't know what to do. And I remember like Glenn and I had a phone. We had to get on the phone about it. Like, I needed to navigate. You know, he had a lot of questions for me that I wasn't really sure how to answer. Like, sometimes they're just not your person, and it wasn't anything. Like, a lot of people look or seek out firm reasons as to why it's not a fit, and there's not often that. Because I think sometimes it's just something you can't put your finger on with a lot of people, and they might be like perfectly nice on paper, like attractive, and have even similar interests, and there still might not be like that element. So I think that was a tough thing for me to navigate, because I really I felt bad about it. I didn't know what to say, but Glenn was actually pretty helpful in like understanding like what that person might have been looking for specifically, and how and why they might have been pushing on it. And he offered me some advice that I honestly hadn't thought of, because again, like, I'm not sure that I was in like the male mindset at that time. So
Do you remember what the advice was, or do we not want to share?
Nah, I'm like clueless what the advice I gave was.
do you
Like,
remember
oh,
this
cool.
though?
I do remember
I was in
this.
Cincinnati. I was at home.
Yeah,
and
should we look at like someone's phone to see if the
I mean,
text
we'd have to go back
Nah.
months on
Yeah.
end for that one. But I'm trying to remember. But honestly, it was more so just, I think what it really was I just wasn't like sure at the time, and I needed to create some space between me and this person. But I also knew that wasn't necessarily like a kind thing to do, to just say like, hey, like, I'm unclear and I don't know if I feel this way about you, so like, why don't you just like wait? Like, I don't really want to, I didn't want to do that. And I remember Glenn helped me like navigate a way to communicate that to him that was like fair and just like honest. And like, if I still felt like if I wanted to reach out to that person, I had been fair enough to them that I could. And I also felt like I was communicative enough and direct enough that they weren't being in a position where they were waiting on me, if that makes sense. And I remember Glenn helped me navigate that.
Yeah, I remember
tough.
talking on the phone for like 30 minutes or something.
Do you remember it now, though? Like the scenario?
Yeah, but I don't remember the exact advice. I told you.
That was it.
But yeah,
Well, thank you, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
I tried.
Thank you.
What about me?
Former Glenn.
What advice have I given you, Glenn?
So, fun fact, I'm colorblind of red and green. Sammy, if you're not watching the video, you should be. She's super fashionable.
Yeah, and my seeing other people merch.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes Sammy helps me with like a first date outfit. Now I figured out like what shirts are like solid ones. I feel like sometimes like the advice you get from guys about like, you know, how to approach a situation with a woman might be like very driven from like one specific perspective as a guy. And I think, you know, sometimes like even if it's just like a little thing like, you know, oh, she said XYZ, like, you know, I'm not sure how to respond to this. This is what I would do. But like I bounce it off Sammy, and Sammy's like, no, that seems like cold or whatever, you know. So I think guys should have a friend that's a girl to like, you know, be able to send better text messages.
Every guy should have a Sammy.
I
Every
always-
person should have a Sammy.
Yeah, every person
Guys,
should have a
guys,
Sammy.
We all need one of you.
Make me cry. No, I really do think though that like oftentimes we're speaking on different planes sometimes,
Yeah.
and like we might be saying something parallel or remotely similar, but it's just like not hitting. And I think that like that's exactly it. Like I even know that there might be motivation behind a girl's text that maybe she's not even sure
Mm-hmm.
that she's giving off, and Glenn might be receiving it and be like semi-confused. I'm like, oh, I know what she's doing. Like she wants you to plan the date next. Like she wants you to ask first. She wants you to follow up. Like just pick the time, you know? So I think it's things like that. But we also have spoken a lot about like the games and how to like cut through that with the way that the opposite sex might be acting. And I think that saved at least me some time. I don't know about you, but
Yeah,
like me some time.
sometimes like Sammy, I'll send her a text and she'll just like decipher it. It could have been like a paragraph long text, and Sammy will be like, "Oh, here's what it means in one sentence." And it's like communication would be so much easier if people would just say exactly what they wanted to say. That's like the John Mayer song, like "Say what you need to say."
Yeah.
Better
you know,
to say too much.
Yeah,
Never
exactly.
Say what you need to say.
So like
and-
sometimes when you're writing like a 4-paragraph long like text that could just be, well, not 4 paragraphs, but like, you know, a long text that could just be like 2 sentences. Like,
We overcompensate a lot and go in
Yes.
circles and beat
Yeah.
around the bush and hide the message, even though like we're trying to just over explain, but it's getting convoluted and the message is getting lost in
it's a
translation.
compliment
Yeah.
sandwich. That's
and
what
I
it is.
think part of the thing, like knowing like other like women friends is like they'll send like a message to their group chat of their girls, and then you're getting like 5 different perspectives. And like if I need help, and like I have like 3 guys I text, I know the advice I'm gonna get from like the 3 of them based on what I'm looking for, you know, so I'll pick the one to text based on what I want to get. But like I don't have like a group chat like helping me compile like one text message to send a girl.
Okay, well, I have a challenge for you though,
Alright.
because now that
I
Where
had
I'm
an idea
at,
too. I wonder if you're on the same
maybe.
page as me.
I do feel like when I was single, I would get a lot of outside advice, like all the time. Like I needed 50 people to explain to me what was happening to
I can
me.
confirm,
Yeah.
as someone who lives 2 doors down
as
from
someone
Sammy,
as someone who was on the listserv of that email chain.
that too. And anytime I go into the hallway to go to the elevator, which is a lot of times because I walk Berkeley a lot of times a day, there is never a moment. If Sammy's home, she's on the phone and she's talking about what's going on in her life.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny sometimes.
Yeah. So going back to what I was saying, I do think I like sought out a lot of, I don't know, like I guess it was external validation from friends, family members, like just understanding what, like I needed 50 people to tell me that someone did not like me. So
You also
there was-
needed 50 people to tell you if someone did like you.
that's
Yeah.
true too. But I think like something that I did when I was first dating the person I'm dating now was really just stayed like within myself. Like I just kept the thoughts to myself. I like entertained things that I was thinking alone and without outside counsel. And well, minimal minimal outside counsel. Comparatively comparatively minimal outside counsel.
Like what?
Because well, you consider yourself in the inner circle, sister.
I do, and
But I like
agree.
I really did like even if I was thinking something, I just tried to really figure it out on my own, like a lot. And
Yeah.
I do think it helped. Like I think it really helped see things for what it was, because like Glenn just said, he knows what each person's gonna tell him. So he'll seek out the person that's gonna affirm something he wants to believe. And it's
Yeah.
just like the more you can neutralize it, I think the more you're honestly just having an organic exploration of the relationship
Yes.
with the person.
Yeah. Wait, what was your challenge for me? Because that's how this whole
My
thing-
challenge was to try to not seek out like that
Oh.
much advice. Like I understand sometimes, obviously I don't think it's possible to never talk to a friend or like never share like how you might be feeling, good or bad, but with like the guys that you know
Got it.
how they're gonna send, like you know what they're gonna say,
Yeah,
like
no,
maybe just
exactly.
don't hit them up for it and just decide with like what Glenn's gonna do
Yeah,
on Glenn's
I mean-
own and like see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time I do decide on my own. You know, like I said earlier, maybe like, you know, having the dating wins thing, like most of my guys don't talk about like their dating shit, you know, so even if it's filling out like a question box, it's like normally based on my opinions or
Yeah.
thoughts or.
I will say, while my male audience is significantly smaller than my female audience, I think they're significantly more engaged with the content and messaging me like updates and what's going on in their life and responding to question boxes because of that exact reason, because guys don't talk about this stuff with each other that often.
Yeah, no, that definitely checks out. And I think it's a two-way street too. I think like a guy that's willing to listen to dating podcasts, whether it's you guys or could I say like another
Of
one?
course. We support
You up, because
everyone.
that has Jared's and Jordana's perspective. So
Totally.
you get like
Yeah.
you basically have a Glenn and Sammy
It's true.
kind of, but like I think a guy that listens to a dating podcast might be just slightly more emotionally available, you know. So
agree.
Yeah, it definitely shows like
Yeah.
interest and like curiosity.
yeah.
Absolutely. And self-awareness, or at least like willingness to learn and grow.
Yeah.
So we've talked about advice that you've given each other. What about disagreements you've had? Has there been any controversy in the Sammy and Glenn advice ship? Are there any fundamental disagreements or conflicts or ideas that you don't align on?
I think one is if he wanted to, he would.
Oh.
Um,
Whoa.
hot take.
Hot take.
Yeah. Wait.
What's your take?
No,
I think if he wanted to, he probably would, but like, he might not. He probably would. Like 95% of the time, you know.
He might not.
He probably
He
would,
probably
but
would,
like,
but he might not. That's the new saying,
you
guys.
know, he might not. You know, maybe he's got like some family stuff going on, and like it's just slips your mind that he doesn't text you for like 36 hours. I mean, like I did that last week, and you know, things reconciled, and now we're good. You know, or like, you know, maybe he like is trying to plan something and doesn't want to just like give the whole plan away before he like gets to, you know, make sure everything's on point.
yeah. If he wanted to, he might.
He probably would, but he might. He might not,
He might
you
not.
know.
Okay.
I'm kind of just like, if he wanted to, he will. But I do think like there are certain circumstances. Like it should be the same way. If we wanted to, we would as well. And
But we
there are
don't.
times that we don't. So I just think it's that statement is the use case for that is like when you're at a certain stage of getting to know someone, because I think like oftentimes that is a pulse check when you're at a point of commitment to somebody, or that could or should be. And I think that if you're there, someone would probably feel comfortable communicating that there's something that they're busy with, or that they're, even if they don't feel comfortable sharing what's happening.
Yeah.
So I think in the early stages, like it's Glenn's. If he wanted to, he probably would, but he might not. And I think if you're at a point where you're not sure of like where you stand with someone, but you're at a stage of like potentially committing to them, like if both people want to, they will. And if you're not getting that answer, then I think you have your answer.
No,
But
then I think you should.
I think you have to ask for it.
I think you should
But it's for both
say
people.
what you have to
Yeah.
get off your chest and see how the guy responds
Agreed.
to it. You know, like just reveal your feelings. Like there's been times where like someone's like, I think I'm gonna go off the dating apps, and I might not have been there at that same point, and I'm like, I feel like I'm going that way, but I'm not ready, you know, or like other situations where he might not.
Yeah, I think it's also just about creating space for both people to do or not do. Like,
Yeah.
I think what you said is cool. Like, if a girl is saying that she's going to get off the dating apps and she's letting you know that, that's really brave of her. Like, I think a lot of people on both sides, on both parties, will say, like, what are we? Or, like, are you still on the apps kind of thing. But I think we should feel empowered to say what we're doing and what we feel and what we'd like. Like, I am going to get off the apps. I like spending time with you. I'd like to be your girlfriend. Like that, I feel like comes from a place of confidence and assurance. And then like the other person can still respond and react to that and not feel like backed into a corner. And they can like, you know, instead of like, what are we? It's just like, I'd like to be this. And I think that's, I don't know. I think like,
Yeah.
again, like both people, if they want to, they would at a certain point. But I think it's about creating the space for the other person. I'm like blanking on what the saying is, but it's like see what someone
Empowering the other person.
it's like see what someone decides to like see what someone does so that you can see what they'd rather do or something like that. And it's like like give people an opportunity to make a choice or to do something
Or
so
show
that
up
you can
for
understand what they would rather do rather than putting someone in a position on either side
Mm-hmm.
to like react for the wrong reason into that. So I know we deviated from like if they wanted to they would, but again, like I think that comes at a certain time of like if you're like in it with someone and you're months in and you're at a place where like you'd like to be committed to them and you're feeling like there's all these excuses or reasons why, like I am of the notion of like if they wanted to at that point they would.
Yeah, I think at a certain point it's like if someone wanted it they would, but
on both sides of the coin. But at the beginning, like sure, like there might be reasons why we're unplugged or we've gone through something and it's not a priority to let that person know firsthand what you're going through. And I think it's okay to give people, you know, the benefit of that doubt early on. And I think it's actually important to do that so that we each, like both sides have a little more grace and then again, a little more space to step into doing things that will show you that they're interested.
In conclusion, if he wanted to, he probably would, but he might not. But we should all communicate.
Yes. And
exactly.
Vulnerability is key.
And share what we want.
Say
but the
what
other
you
thing,
need to say.
Yes.
Better to say what you
yeah.
Thanks, John.
Boy.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
John, if you're
come
listening.
on that episode, right?
The other thing I don't know if we agreed on, but I think it honestly lends itself to the same thought process is if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Yeah.
But
who was on each side of the coin?
I think I was like, if it's not a hell no, it's a yes or something, right?
Yeah. And I was like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. But we discovered, I mean, I think like, well, I guess what's like behind that for you? I think it's a better place to start.
It's to a certain point, like you should try to see stuff through. I mean, I know me, not the, you know, I'm not like an instant spark person. I'm more of a slow burn dude. So like, you know, it might take me 1 or 2 dates to warm up to like you or like be more open or vulnerable or whatever. But I think like once you earn that respect or that like, you know, connection, you should give it a try at least. You know, I wouldn't say like go on 6 dates if you're unsure, but like go on at least a second, you know, and figure it out from there.
Yeah. And I think I was coming from the place of like, if you're not like, hell yes, I want to be with somebody, like, or they're not like, hell yes, I want to be with you, then it's probably just a hell no. But again, I think that's at a certain stage of like getting to know someone. I actually agree with Glenn. I think we originally disagreed because it was a similar statement, but I do believe in, like I did when I was dating, that like if you go on a date with someone and you're just not sure and it's not like an absolute no, then like yes, like do explore another date. I don't think you need to go on 6 dates with them or 7 dates with them and still have the same sentiment about it. I think if you're not feeling any type of way by then, it's probably okay to call it a day then. But
you should never feel like you have to force yourself to go on a date. Like I get asked this question all the time, whether it's like after the first date or after the 4th date or after like the 8th date and someone's still unsure. I'm like, well, are you dreading it? Like you should never go into a date being like, oh my God, rather be a million places but here. I'd rather be at home but here. Like I really don't want to go. Like that should not be your mentality going into the date.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, oh, like it was like fine. I don't really feel anything. I don't really know if anything's there. Like we had a good conversation, but I don't know. I'd say go. Like you never know what could build. And even if it wasn't fireworks on the first date, like that doesn't mean that there's not potential for a connection to grow. And honestly, some of the best connections are when there aren't fireworks on the first date.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I've definitely gone on like 5 or 6 dates with people and then I'm like checking my phone and I'm like, I gotta go. Like I'm like praying that the time goes faster. And I knew that was my time to hit the road. But that definitely shouldn't be a thing. But I agree though now that if you're like not like, you know, super sure, you don't feel absolutely repulsed and like never want to do it again and you just have like a neutral mindset about it, absolutely explore it a little further.
So I guess we actually agree on that.
But
come to communication helps us talk it out.
Yeah, there you go. You can get through anything if you talk about it. There's definitely a song for that, or a few. I have a selfish question. What have each of you, as listeners and friends, learned from me about dating?
I think like
That's a good one.
I don't know. I learned a lot because like it's like a different perspective than what I hear from like the guys. Honestly, guys, like half our group chat is all sports. Like so just like hearing different things and like becoming more emotionally available in a way through like hearing different stuff. I don't know if that answers it or not.
I'll
But
take it.
yeah, and then I think Sammy is just like, Sammy's like the Energizer Bunny. Like she just is always like on, and
I was like, where are we going with this?
she'll give you like the best type of speech kind of thing. So like yeah.
Should I launch my like I'll be your wingman services after
Yes,
this?
literally yes.
Okay, what have I learned? I mean, I think
I'm sorry, hold on. We got to talk about there's
such a business op
such
here.
a market for that.
We got to do it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And if anyone
We are
steals
creating-
it, we
You heard it here first.
We got to launch that by the time this comes out. Wing person.
Off the ground.
Rent
Yes.
rent a wingman or
Literally.
wingwoman kind of thing.
All right. Okay, something the most important thing I think I've learned from being a listener is just like leading with vulnerability and just like being your true self. And like in this, I guess it's sort of analyzing or being discerning about whether people are actually impressing you or whether like they actually have qualities that you are looking for and that meet your needs. Shifting the perspective to you is the biggest like game changer in the game.
Yeah.
Anytime I found myself obsessing over someone I was dating or like worrying about if someone liked me or if I said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing, like shifting perspective to me, like if I did, like I truly believe that what I did and what I said came from a place of honesty and like the meaning was well intended. So if that person doesn't like what I said, then they're not meant for me. And just like I guess subscribing to that and like subscribing that's like the rejection is redirection, leading with your own like vulnerability and honesty instead of asking people what you are, like telling them what you'd like to be. Like that belief system I think is something that you foster and try to share with your listeners, and it resonates with me.
I'm so glad. Thank you. That was so lovely. Thank you guys.
Also, if you follow, you get to see really cute photos of Barkley. So
true.
That's
It's a plus.
the added bonus,
This is Uncle Glenn and Aunt Sammy, and
Fully.
Barkley and I have benefited deeply from both of that.
Yeah.
Okay. I know we're going to get to the last question, but before we do, I did think of something that I want to talk about. Sammy, you can totally say no if you don't want to talk about it. It's about your new relationship, and it is about how you were asked to be in a relationship before you were ready.
Okay. I think we could talk about that.
Yeah. The reason I bring it up is because I'm always hearing from people who are saying like, I know I like this person and I'm excited to see where it goes, but like I don't think I'm ready yet. Or like on the flip side, how soon is too soon to ask? Like what if it doesn't go well? And there's so much stress and anxiety surrounding defining the relationship.
Totally. Well, first and foremost, I don't necessarily think there's any like time frame on it.
Yeah,
So for the people wondering is how soon is too soon, like, I mean, I don't know if asking someone to be a girlfriend on a first date is going to like go over. I don't know if that's going to yield the results you're looking for, but I think generally speaking, there's no time frame. It's like any relationship is literally whatever is between you and the person.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But I think for me personally, I was like super enjoying getting to know the person. And I was also excited when they asked to be or like wanted to let me know that they weren't seeing other people and I wasn't either. And I think like for me personally, I had been in other relationships that had like progressed at a speed that maybe I was comfortable with when it was first happened, but like looking back, I wasn't super sure if I would have done the same thing again. And I wanted like setting the pace or slowing the pace for me was more about just like taking my time and not even making sure that it was the right thing, but just like taking my time and like feeling comfortable. And I felt like if this person, like if it was going to work out, then it wouldn't really matter if I needed to set a little bit of a slower pace, and like it didn't. Like the person was super receptive and respectful of that, and it really like changed nothing. And then like a couple weeks later, he called me his friend at a bar by accident, and I was like,
Well, not by
nope.
accident. That's what you directed
Yeah,
him
true.
to
That's
call
what
you.
you wanted.
And you didn't
Yeah, it
like
was funny, and I
it.
never lived it, and he never lived it down. But I did ask for it, and then I like when he asked to be like when we talked about it at first, and I was just like, I need a little bit more time. I knew I was like interested and that it was going that way, but again, like I think it was just a personal like boundary for me that I wanted to implement to create some space for myself to like react in, and the person was really receptive of it, and it just made me realize that if that is the right thing, then it like literally here's another saying we could see if we agree or disagree with, but I don't know if you can say or do the wrong thing to the right person.
Yeah.
And like obviously I don't mean that literally, but I do think if you are really leading with vulnerability and honesty and well intention, like if you are just use like that is guiding everything you do, then I really don't think that you can do the wrong thing to the right person. Like if you are just being like,
that doesn't mean like cheat or like throw their shit out the window.
That's
it's
what
like
I'm
within,
saying.
Yeah, within
I
reason.
didn't mean
Yes.
literally
Yes.
for the listeners at home. But if you are leading with like honesty, like well intentioned,
Yeah.
then and you really are just trying to put your best foot forward and be heart open, then like yeah, like sometimes you might say something like that you regret or look back on and think you acted crazy and like don't know why you did it, but it might have been because that was like a boundary for you, or it was a trigger for you and you don't know why you acted that way. But I think the right person, like you have to be in a situation where the other person is like receiving it in a way that they understand you and it's okay. And like I said, I think it was like I really appreciated that about him, and I think that it also made me want to like be in it more, honestly.
Yeah, you gave him the opportunity to show up for you, and he did. He was patient. He was understanding. He didn't pressure you, and that's everything that you needed in order to feel ready to press go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I'm really happy for you.
Thanks.
So happy for you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm happy for me.
I had the pleasure of having a night.
Yeah, we had a fun
We had
night.
a double date.
We did have a double date. It was a game night. You know, he bought that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Immediately
Oh my
after
God,
that
that's so
night.
fun.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for. Dun, dun,
Oh.
dun.
Drum roll, please.
Glenn,
Yeah.
what is the best piece of dating or relationship advice you've ever received or have to give?
So this is an analogy. This is going to get kind of deep. When I was working at Nike in 2015, we had this guy, Chris Bennett, who led our run club. He's now known as Coach Bennett on Nike Run Club app.
I'm
And
all too familiar.
he used to say, he still says it, every run has a purpose. So if you adapt that to dating or anything in your life and you look at it through that perspective, like, you know, as a runner, sometimes you have slow runs, fast runs, you hurt yourself, you learn a better route, whatever. If you apply that to dating, like, you know, sometimes you learn like things you like in a partner, other times you learn things you are like, I don't want my future partner to like be like this or not like, you know, do X, Y, or Z, or you want them to do X, Y, or Z, or to be treated a certain way. So, you know, each date in a way could be a learning experience for what you want or don't want in your future relationship. And if that's not good, Jared Freed says you're somebody's foot, which means, you know, someone's going to like you out there. So, you know, that's
a good one.
Those
two
are
pieces of dating advice.
beautiful advices from
Polarizing.
wonderful men.
Love that. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think I like to practice gratitude with a lot of things in life. So if you can find something that you're grateful for, and even like the shittiest of situations, I think you can find value in it. So to Glenn's point about no run is worth, what is it? No,
Every run has a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That for me, like if we play the date back, my old dating advice used to just be don't try to go on every date like looking for the one or finding your person, and just really like dating is about garnering a bunch of experiences that help shape like who you are and what you are looking for. And I definitely still subscribe to that, but I also think I've adapted the belief system of like, again, like shifting the focus to yourself. Like, be your own best friend, want what's best for you, and really analyze what you're seeing and experiencing and whether it's like working for you. And I think if you can keep yourself in that mindset, like you're winning, you're doing a great job. And like that's what, like, let the other person worry about them and what's working for them, and you don't need to worry about that. And just, that's really it. Those are mine.
Nice.
That's all I got.
Good job, Sammy.
Guys, we did it.
We did it.
Thank you
Woohoo!
guys. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for not only being friends and supporting me, supporting the show. Thank you guys for, I think you've both given me ideas. You've both
Watched Barkley.
What?
We both watched Barkley.
You both watched Barkley.
Yeah.
But no, I really appreciate you both being here and opening up. And I am so proud of both of you in so many different ways. And I just thank you guys for coming into the SOP fam officially.
Wow.
Thanks for
I'm
having
honored.
us.
I'm honored.
Let's go.
Yay!
Good stuff, guys.
Woo!